Welcome to another episode of the Barron Report. This is a live broadcast, though, today. If you're listening in right now, whether it's over on iTunes or Spotify, you probably missed the live version, but if you're also watching out there in some of our live broadcasts, you're getting a special treat. And the treat is that we're breaking down news items each week here on the Barron Report. We'll do it right here in studio. We'll stream it out to some of the, both our website and to some of the popular streaming sites. So if you start listening in a little bit, watch for some of our cues. You'll know when this is happening. Today's lead story, of course, is Uber eating the restaurant business. And the thing that we'll be talking about there, of course, is some huge impact and moves that's happening in that area of Uber and how they're impacting the restaurant business. Second up today, we'll also talk a little bit about Amazon Go, and we'll also get into plant-based trends for 2019. So leading up, let's talk about Amazon Go a little bit. If you've been following our podcast or maybe our site, you'll notice that Amazon Go has been in the news lately. And of course, the big topic and the one that is most interesting was its whole aspect around how it's impacting the fast casual restaurant industry. And this is a piece that I did just not too long ago on that very topic. Let's take this a little bit further into kind of the strategy. If you haven't been to a Go store or seen kind of the coverage of what Amazon is trying to do with the Go store, this is a cashierless store. So what you do is you walk in and you can pick out items and packaged goods, and you can walk out literally much like you do at the Apple store, where you can just pay on your mobile device. But in this case, it scans the products and matches it up to your mobile device, and boom, you've got your automatic billing. So that's a pretty innovative, action in retail in itself. But what is very unique about, I think, this strategy, and this is the point and my prediction of where Amazon is going with this move to put 3,000 Go stores in the U.S., is that they are after the grab and go, and yes, I'm going to say it, they're after the fast casual sector. So as you can see, the real issue is the movement and the challenge to the fast casual segment. But what's new this week is some data that was performed by a company called InMarket. Now, InMarket did a study on Amazon Go traffic and consumer behavior. And this is where I think the dots kind of connect. The big issue that I kind of mentioned in the podcast there as you listened in on is that with this movement, really, Amazon Go is after the lunch business. And now we've seen this with the most recent data from InMarket that shows that that study is actually showing exactly what we've been talking about, which is people are going there at lunchtime, they're actually closing their stores in the evening, and their dwell time is considerably longer than what you might find in, like, say, a C-store. So that's kind of been the thing. When you look at Amazon Go, most people have been thinking, hey, it might be a C-store killer, but in reality, I feel like this is really a lunchtime challenge. And the biggest lunchtime concepts out there that are doing so well are fast casual. And of course, fast casual has now a pretty big competitor. When you think about fast casual and its growth, and someone like Amazon who's going to put out 3,000 of these stores over the next few years, this becomes a really big challenger to the segment. So it's one that I definitely will continue to report on, and hopefully you'll get a chance to kind of follow up. If you haven't had a chance to listen to that podcast, just check the Barron Report show page, and you can get to the entire podcast over there. Let's go ahead and bust into the next focus, and that is our plant-based trends showing growth for 2019. Now, plant-based has been on the move for quite some time. The issue has been, is the industry kind of adopting and accepting it? So some of the things that you're going to see, I want to show you a short segment here on some of the plant-based trends that we captured earlier in the year.
The number of people identifying as vegan is up 600% over just the last 3 years. And according to Foodable Labs, plant-based consumption is up over 300% over the last year. Conversations among food influencers are showing a 78.4% increase in plant-based topics over the last year, indicating a very clear culture shift and requiring restaurants to react. According to Foodable Labs, this year, 51% of chefs have added vegan menu items to their menus, which is up 31% from last year. And that seems to be the right move. While overall restaurant counts are down, plant-based concepts have increased traffic a whopping 13% year over year.
All right, so as you see, the trends on plant-based are really impacting the business, and this is coming from all things around chefs incorporating this into their menus now, and also the consumer demand. And let's talk about that for a second, and the consumer demand, meaning what demographics are really showing growth in the plant-based segment. 18 to 34 demographic is up 23.5% in plant-based menu demand year over year. Also, the 45 to 55 demographic is up 21.9% in this same category of demand around what's happening in plant-based. When you look at that, which these are the two big categories of food consumers in really in the restaurant business today, and they're showing this much growth specific to the plant segment, this is where I think it has the most impact of how restaurants are going to respond to this. We're already seeing this in the Healthy Halo brands. We're also already seeing this in fast casual, the Emerging 150. If you have not had a chance to check out that, search Emerging Brand 150 on our website, and you'll get a nice surprise about who's starting to lead the pack there. Let's move on to our last segment and really kind of the lead of the day, and that is Uber eating the restaurant business? And what I mean by that is really kind of a whole issue. Earlier this year, I did a prediction, and the prediction was looking at where the restaurant industry was going. It's a segment here on the Barron Report called Plugged In. Take a look at this prediction specifically around on-demand delivery. Okay, so my number one prediction for 2018 is the restaurant quickening. A lot of restaurants are going to close. There's a lot more pressures from online delivery and also the aspect of e-commerce, meal kits, and the likes that are really impeding on how a restaurant is going to grow. So my prediction is 8% drop in total restaurant locations. The industry will shrink. And by the way, that will be more closings in the last 30 years in just the year 2018. It's not an I told you so moment, but it's definitely a prediction that appears to be coming true, and that is that the growth has really stimulated what's happening in delivery. Now let's also look at some of the data points that I put together over this week that kind of connects the dots to something that I think is a very striking issue in the restaurant business, and that is that Uber may actually be charged with causing restaurants to close. Let's break this down in a few things. First is a study. A recent study conducted by CHD shows that restaurant brands are actually pushing down the accelerator when it comes to specific on-delivery or on-demand delivery and a variety of off-premise channels. Let's take a look at the talking points of this. And the takeout and pickup is projected at generating about $124 billion in sales this year. Now, this is estimated at 20% of overall sales for restaurant operations. When we look at this data, we think there's some big sectors because takeout with direct delivery from a restaurant is around $32 billion. Takeout with delivery from a third-party delivery service company is around $13 billion, according to this report. Now, this is where I think it gets interesting. With CHD's report, not that it's wrong, but we actually see that there's a significant variance from our data that is showing about $32 billion in third-party delivery potentials for the restaurant industry. And this breaks down into about 318,000 restaurants that are participating in third-party delivery. This is estimated at around 48% of total restaurants in the U.S. So when you look at the overall ecosystem, think 1 and 2 restaurants are out there doing third-party on-demand delivery, Uber being the leader of the pack, along with others that have really kind of showed the way. Finally, you look at catering, which is coming in around $40 billion. So As you can see, food away from home is exploding, and on-demand delivery, especially in third party, is really beginning to shift the entire landscape of where restaurant is today. Now, let's take a look at a couple of slides here that are related to restaurant closings. And this one is kind of interesting. As of October 31st of this year, we are estimating around 62,000 restaurants have closed to date. Now, this also goes back to a trend prediction that we did earlier this year that we thought we would see about 80,000 restaurant closures. At current pace, we estimate that this will be on track with my original predictions, which were around the 80K mark. We'll dig in a little deeper to this and kind of talk about where this closure relates to on-demand delivery. So let's look at UberEats in relationship to the overall operators that are using them. Remember, 48% of the industry using on-demand delivery, UberEats the leader of the pack. What we found was that 32% of those on-demand deliveries were actually coming through UberEats. Now, here's the interesting thing. The closures that we had and saw in this data were grafted against data from UberEats delivery. So we were looking at restaurants and consumers that were talking about UberEats delivery from these specific restaurant closings. Out of those, 32% of those restaurants actually used UberEats of the ones that closed. So this is very well in line with the overall data of where the industry closures are occurring from. In short, what this simply means is UberEats and their fees actually causing a challenge to the restaurant business, especially around the cost ratio of what restaurant points are. So when you look at where your profits are in food service today, it doesn't necessarily equate with about the 30% or so charge that Uber charges. So when you look at the Uber effect that is impacting the restaurant business, around 19,000 restaurants that closed out of the 62K, and that's up through October, which equals about 1.3 restaurants per day. Not a huge number, but definitely a number that we need to be looking at. And I think this is the thing that is most important around the UberEats issue, and really whether or not restaurants are going to be able to handle the challenges that on-demand delivery continue to play, both from a consumer standpoint, but also from an aspect of just the operational ability to be able to put this out there into the market and still make a profit. These are some of the things that we'll talk about here on the Barron Report. Each week, we'll try to cover 2 to 3 topics. Sometimes we'll have a variety of guests that will be coming in, which will be, Skyped in, or we'll bring them in through our live system. If you guys have, of course, an idea for a show topic, make sure and just shoot us an email at producer@foodabletv.com. This is the Barron Report, and we'll catch you next time.